Why am I reviewing such a limited group of art? I don't know. I just like to put things into groups, I guess. Also, before anything else, I want to make it abundantly clear that I don't care about the politics of this whatsoever. I'm not going to mention the political messages of these comics, I'm only judging the quality of the artwork and nothing more. You can make your own conclusions about what is in the comics, I don't care. I chose to review some comics from Everyday Feminism because I heard the art was truly something to behold. Of course, I'm not going to go through all of them, I'm just going to give my thoughts on the ones I found the most interesting. The format of this review is going to be a little different. I think I'm going to go from panel to panel, giving my thoughts and commentary, and I'll probably end with some sort of summary at the end of each comic. So let's begin with one of their most recent comics called The Misadventures of Light-Skinned Lexi. Yep, this is it. Just breathe it in. So I don't
really... Well, they don't mess with the cinematography look at all in Marvel, which is...
I know, they want it to be, like...
Yeah, the same.
Voiceless, no personality.
Because if you look at the old... in comic books, you can have different artists, but you can't have different cinematographers and ways of shooting things, which I kind of think is to their detriment, because it's like, they wouldn't all look the same. You could have very different looking movies all existing in the same.
It would be, I think it would, I don't think it would be like that big of a deal for a different feeling Marvel movie to exist. I mean, the closest that we have to that is Guardians of the Galaxy.
And that's like everyone's favorite one.
Exactly. It's like something that deviates and does something new. And now it's like, because they kind of did something new, now it seems, at least in the marketing department, that Thor Ragnarok is trying to like follow in the same vein as Guardians of the Galaxy, and many people are trying to emulate that sort of feel and doing throwback 70s music to their action scenes. And you know, like, they've clearly seen some success, and now it's just like, instead of learning the lesson of, hey, maybe some deviation or some creative freedom is a good thing, instead they're like, oh, we found the new thing that we're supposed to do and only do forever.
Well, I think with Thor Ragnarok, they have like Taika Waititi, who's a really different director from like James Gunn, and like trying to at least, I mean, I don't know if it'll work out that way. I haven't seen Thor Ragnarok yet, but
yeah, who knows?
It's like, doesn't matter. It doesn't know right now, but it feels like they're going in a really different direction by getting, at least,
I don't know, like their poster implies it, but I don't know what the marketing department is gonna, you know.
But at least like with the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, like they had Bill Pope shoot those, and he did Scott Pilgrim and Baby Driver and Team America, and like they had a really great DP on those. Whereas like in these, it's like I barely notice who the DPs are.
Not only are the action scenes more impressively thought out from a cinematography perspective in the Sam Raimi universe, when comparing it to the Spider-Man Homecoming especially. Not only is that more impressive, but just looking at the dialogue scenes, you know, like there's parts where characters will have a certain emotion, and in order to emphasize that, like the next shot, when you cut back from one of the characters, it'll be a little bit closer onto like Aunt May's face or something. And it's like there's a purpose, there's like a breathing being to the film. And I feel like you know, the Sam Raimi universe Spider-Man, in terms of the filmmaking, it feels like art, but then the Homecoming cinematography just feels like a factory product, and that's really what I'm missing from it. And I want to be, you know, I like film as an art form. That's what I love about it. You know, so I just feel a little
the only closest thing I can think of to what you're talking about in Homecoming is when it's like talking to Peter in the drive to Homecoming, and figures out who Peter is, and turns around and the light goes green on the street light, and he's like, oh, I get you. That's like the closest thing to like a clever like visual shot.
That was I would consider that to be like probably the most effective dialogue scene in the film.
Yeah, definitely. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, like it isn't saying all that much, because I wouldn't, in terms of like emotion, I wouldn't say that there was much in that film in that department. There was comedy. There was
Oh, yeah.
like,
Well, they were
kind of funny comedy, but that had nothing to do with the filmmaking and everything to do with like the performers and like the characters and like the
Yeah.
universe, right? Like the
Mhm.
filmmaking was just what was lacking in the film,
Yeah.
and that's what I care about the most.
Mm.
I mean,
And
Yeah.
I think there
like,
were
I don't think it's a bad movie. Like I gave my quickie on it. I gave it a 7. Maybe it should be a 6 instead. Like now that I've had
Mhm.
time to sit on it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't. It was an enjoyable watch. I'm glad that they did new things with the universe.
Mhm.
It's really not as much of a film from a filmmaking perspective that I'd like it to be.
no, it's
Yeah,
more of
that's
a
understandable.
producer studio driven, and it was the other thing is it's a lot cheaper. Like the original Sam Raimi Spider-Mans were made in like such a different Hollywood where Sam Raimi had to make them big and epic as possible because there were these huge movies. So they had to be these big epic kind of event things, but he also had to find a way to make it small and relatable because Spider-Man's kind of like you're basically just dealing with like protecting New York City. You're not saving the universe in a Spider-Man movie.
Mhm.
And like Sam Raimi was good at making it feel epic and important, but also like, oh, Peter, has to get to class and stuff.
Pizza
And this
time.
yeah, exactly. And this
Whoa.
one was so much more focused on the low keyness that I get. Like it's kind of hard to build up to what Sam Raimi did, and especially
Yeah,
in
and now
two.
the Marvel films are focused on the Loki-ness. Bazinga.
Ah!
Wow,
Bad
Adam, we have a dad here. You can't just upstage him like that.
He stole that guy's joke.
Yeah,
I had to interrupt while it was there. I'm sorry.
But with these solo Spider-Man movies, like you can almost say, like if he's the only superhero in the world, then like it's much grander versus like,
Oh, that's a good point.
like in this version, it's literally like, can you just protect your neighborhood? Can you be
Yeah.
a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man?
Or like how he helps that lady across the street and she gives him churros. Wasn't it? Was it he like gets some churros? I was like, I like that. That's Spider-Man's day.
Well, because like
Yeah.
in the original, like literally, its responsibility is like the catchphrase is such a big
Great
important
power.
part because it's like
responsibility.
if he doesn't do what he's doing, then he's being a bad person.
Yeah.
Versus now, like if he doesn't save the day, someone else will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like how
that's
this
true.
movie emphasized friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, like that aspect. Like, oh, now I get it. Like the other movies, I don't feel got that aspect.
I will say, as much as I liked what I mentioned before about him not being able to like do web shooting in suburbia,
Mhm.
there is no way he goes to school with a girl who lives in that neighborhood. Like it just geographically that I was fine with it, but like when you live in the area, sometimes you're like, where does she live? Like that's an hour away. Like there's no way she commutes an hour to school. Making that car thing with Michael Keaton, like that would have taken forever. They would have been like, so Trump, right? I mean, that'll kill 20 minutes, right?
You know who I don't like? Iron Man.
Oh,
He was a huge
the-
prick in this movie.
Hey.
no,
Well, so I felt the same way about him in this movie as I did about him in Captain America Civil War, where like his character was somehow lost and just replaced with a plot device.
Hmm.
Like he doesn't feel natural anymore. He just like I get maybe it's because I don't read the comics and maybe this is all just like in tune with his character. That's fine, but it feels like it's less about him expressing something natural about his character and more just about him being like, I need to create conflict for the plot. I will take a huge issue with this. Spider-Man, you think you're messing with the big boys. You're just a little baby. How do you feel about that? Like it's just he's literally just shows up as a plot device, and it's just I don't know. He annoys me in this universe.
Well, I think there's twofold reason. One is the first reason is he got PTSD in Iron Man 3, which is a completely irrelevant movie now. But I guess that kind of hinted that he's starting to take things a lot more seriously. And then in Civil War 2, and then Civil War, and it's a really flimsy, stupid reason. But this lady walks up to him and she said, "Hey, my son died because of you." And then Tony just all of a sudden realized my actions have consequences.
It was really ham-fisted.
Oh god, no!
Honestly.
It's probably one of the worst moments of the Marvel MCU.
Yo, my son died.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
they could
like-
have built on his whole PTSD thing to get to that plot.
Well, when you've got like 8 billion main characters in the movie, like how much time can you really
Yeah.
spend developing
Did-
one?
are you guys excited for Infinity War, where they're going to have 60 characters on screen at once?
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm curious how they can even do that, because even in the Infinity Gauntlet comic, which this is primarily based on, I guess, they mainly had it from Thanos' perspective, and then they'd cut to the heroes, and they'd be all like, "What do? We got to get organized," and then they'd cut back to Thanos. And like, so is it mainly going to be about Thanos and then do that, or are they going to try to push the whole like Tony Stark feels bad sometimes thing?
What do you think, Jim?
Probably the latter.
Yeah.
It probably like Tony will be like, "I feel bad. Where's Captain America? He has an eye patch now.
But oh,
I shouldn't have
Can I
poked
say
him in
that
the
I feel
eye."
like they might have revealed Thanos too early? Like, I know it's all.
Oh yeah, no, they did. They did.
But like, I honestly don't give a shit about this guy. Like, if it was like a couple years ago, sure. But now at this point, they've teased him so much that it's like,
do something.
They didn't do enough with the teases. The tease at the end of Age of Ultron was like, "I'll do it myself." Was like not cool.
It was
Like the first time you're like, yeah. If it was like each one was like a story, like he's like getting a gem in each infinity gem in each post credits thing, I'd be like, oh, this is building. But instead it was like he's like, I'm still angry, Thanos, get off my lawn.
No, it should be like
that would have been totally fucking cool if they like how Disney always has like some kind of unrelated short at the beginning of their movies. They had like an unrelated short at the end of theirs, like not just
Yeah.
like a scene, but like an actual like small like 5-minute movie.
Well, there is actually like a comic before Infinity Gauntlet of Thanos getting all the Infinity Stones or gems or whatever, and like that's actually a pretty cool story. Like they could have made like cut that up into shorts, or just made like a Netflix thing or something, or made a movie. Who cares?
They should get each movie and have it like Aqua Teen, where at the beginning it shows like Doctor that doctor guy, but it's Thanos and he's saying, "Gentlemen, behold," and it's just whatever he creates or does, it interferes with the movie afterwards.
Actually, that's the best idea.
The human whose name is written in this notebook shall die. Any human who's used a death note can neither go to heaven nor hell for eternity. Once you actually start looking around, it makes you wonder if you'd be doing society a favor by getting rid of all these people. Death note. This world is rotting, and those who are making it rot deserve to die.
I can't tell if I love it or hate it. Like it, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my.
I didn't realize the main guy's from Naked Brothers, but I didn't. I don't know
Wait,
what Naked
what?
Brothers. The main guy's from Naked Brothers. I looked him up. He's from
Naked Brothers Band?
Yeah, from
Yeah.
the new Death Note movie stars Nat Wolff from Naked Brothers Band.
Holy shit!
I don't know what
Naked
that
Brothers.
is.
I ain't watching no. You ain't watching no Naked Brothers. Sorry.
Oh, Adam, I don't know if you got that in Canada, but Naked Brothers Band was a show like on Nickelodeon about these like guys who these like stupid teenagers who were in a band.
I'm looking at the IMDb page right now. It looks awful.
It's very
Yeah,
the name is very concerning. Naked Brothers Band for a kid show. It's a little
I think I remember seeing like maybe a commercial for that on TV at one point.
Yeah. I go to Walmart all the time, and they have like 50 million copies of the PS2 game on clearance that nobody wants to buy. And I've always just contemplated. I wonder if anybody would be upset if I stole these. Because owning it ironically would be great, but I ain't paying for that shit.
No.
Like they catch me at the door, and they'd be like, "You have to pay for them." No, I don't. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like who wants to arrest someone stealing something called Naked Brothers Band? That's just
You
disturbing.
get 3 years, 3 years of your life in prison because of the Naked Brothers Band.
Well, I think there's lots of people who have gone to prison for liking the Naked Brothers Band.
Oh no!
Sorry.
That's actually not to be confused by the popular gang in prison.
What gang in prison?
The Naked Brothers Band.
There's a gang. Oh no, never mind.
She's making a joke, man.
Shut up! Shut up! Hey, okay, so crap. So is that all for Spider-Man: Homecoming?
Hopefully.
You want to talk about how crappy Death Note was?
Let's talk about Death Nuts. I'm recording now, but yeah. Death Nut on Netflix has premiered, and everybody says it's shit, because to me, I've seen some footage, and it looks like Final Destination.
I've seen footage. I stay noted.
I've seen the whole movie.
Yeah,
I
so
actually
have I.
fucking enjoyed it. I don't know what anyone's saying.
I've heard a lot of polarizing things, like, but the consensus is it's bad. But either
It's
you'll love how
awful.
bad. Yeah, but either you'll love how bad it is, because Death Note.
Okay. I've never been one of the types that's like it has to be strictly the same thing as the source material, because if we play, if we play by that rule, almost every classic movie that everyone fucking loves, Jaws, Wizard of Oz, everything else, we should start hating them. But because everyone saw the movie equivalent first,
I
those are
completely agree.
Thank you. So like if this movie legitimately didn't have Light as the main character and L as the thing, and they just changed their names like they did Misa to Mia and whatever, I could enjoy this as like a weird American alternate universe sequel thing with just Ryuk. But this is, obviously the characters aren't the characters from the book. Light is the biggest pussy ever. And he makes his facial expressions in this goddamn movie is the
He's
live action
smiling
equivalent.
all the time when he's like
Yeah.
pretending to be scared. Somebody uploaded the screaming scene to YouTube. It's so funny.
Yeah.
He's
It
freaking out
is
in the
the
library.
live
that.
action equivalent of the Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka movie.
Ow.
Jesus.
So
Ow.
Put that on your resume, dude.
the Netflix live action 2017 Death Note didn't just fail because it deviated from the source material. It failed independently of that. It was a incredibly poorly acted, cheesy, nonsensical, stupid film.
Although
That-
you didn't like the detective guy who really just went all for it.
Which detective guy?
The guy with the
L?
mask, L.
Hell,
Who?
yeah.
That was just
Oh,
so far. I was like, props to you. You went for this. I don't know
Is
why.
like emotional, like crying and gun wielding and
No, just
You
his
know-
like when he would hop on chairs and like be like totally doing this weird. I don't know. I was like, you're doing this whole cartoony thing.
Well,
It's
that's
like
how he was in
someone's-
the original manga. So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but like
That's probably the only way you could tell that character's well.
it was like everyone else was like, we're making a live action film, and he just went, no, we're making is based on an animated movie. I'm gonna go for this shit. And it's like it's like John Leguizamo in Spawn, where you're like, I mean, this is something. You definitely have acting talent, but I don't know where you went with this shit. Like,
Well,
what's going on here?
Light doesn't
Sorry.
work in this at all. And like you have like this traditional American setting, traditional
Light
high school.
Turner.
And yeah. And then just, all right, we found you with 6 kids' homework, Light. Like that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So it would be one thing if they deviated from the source material and changed everything and it was just like, oh, well, it's different, but it's equally as, purposeful or equally works in the universe. But every change that they made was significantly for the worse in a way where it's abundantly clear that Adam Wingard and everybody else who made the film completely just missed the fucking point. That like what did they watch out of the original anime? What was their experience? What did they get out of it? If apparently them considering their film as doing it justice or creating an adaptation that is of equal or greater value, if their interpretation of that is this film, what did they even see? What did they even watch? What did they get out of it? What was the anime for them?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Like if you can't even, I like how they threw in the American movie trope of him getting bullied. Like they threw in these bully characters just so he could be like, oh man, no one knows what it's like to be like me. Like
I'm just
Come
a
on.
kid.
yeah, exactly. It's a stupid American movie trope. And it's so conflicting. Even if you ignore the source material, it's a movie that's in constant conflict with itself. It plays as though it's a crappy teen, like family channel movie for most of it, and then all of a sudden you have just a bunch of gore. That it's like, okay, well, which market are you trying to even?
Yeah, that was
deliver
one of
to?
the biggest problems with this movie is I kept watching and go, who the fuck is this for? Like
Yeah,
I don't know
Me.
who. It's like, is it for us to like rip up like so this movie cost $50 million, by the way, and like this is one of the biggest things
Sad.
problems with this movie is if this had come out in theaters, it would have bombed, and the director would ruined his reputation, and it would people studios would be like, well, we can't make anime adaptations anymore. Look at Ghost in the Shell and Death Note especially. But since Netflix bought it, Adam Wingard's next movie is Godzilla vs. King Kong.
Yes.
And it's like
Actually, his next one is an I Saw the Devil remake, but he's doing that too.
Well,
I know. Quit giving him shit.
He used to like. Did you see? He's made better stuff before, but as soon as he started with that Blair Witch movie, it's like
okay. I'm gonna disagree with you there and say that he's always been making awful shit movies and he's never made a single good thing in his entire life.
Did you see The Guest?
You know what? I expressed my opinions on this because I tried watching The Guest and I turned it off after 20 minutes because it was so stupid.
But I like The Guest. It's kind of like fun genre stuff. Okay.
After everybody on Twitter started being like, Adam, you didn't like these two movies that I've already tried watching before. And You're Next, I got all the way through and I watched it in like 2012 or whatever. But just to entertain the idea that perhaps I was misinterpreting the films or that they were some sort of serious hidden gem level of commentary on genre deconstruction like people claim they are. I watched them both again last night. They are still bullshit. They are still awful.
Okay.
I hate them. I hate him as a director. He's awful.
I don't know. I haven't really liked
We're off the rails.
This and Blair Witch were so horrible.
I watched that last night too. It was very upsetting.
No, Blair Witch is like, I don't know.
The remake or the
remake? He did the one that came out last year that was like the found footage sequel.
Why did anyone need that? Like, why did that need to exist?
I think people thought because the original sequel of Blair Witch wasn't found footage, it was like they tried to I saw that movie like once, like so long ago, but they tried to just do like a regular kind of horror movie, and then I think they went, oh, maybe that was stupid, why don't, when we reboot it, make a found footage Blair Witch sequel. But he screwed it up, and like, because there's actually a lot of cool Blair Witch history they made for the website and stuff. Like there's a whole world in there you could have done something cool with, but he does not do that at all.
He's clueless, and in the Blair Witch movie, he misinterpreted the source material in the same way that he misinterpreted Death Note. Like you completely missed the point. Like how can you even call this something that's in the same universe or something that is in the same vein of a film? Like why not just make your own intellectual property if you want to do something that has nothing to do with what made the original so special?
I'm still stuck on the fact that there's a sequel or a reboot because, like, with the original one being found footage, doesn't it get technically better with age? Like, couldn't it be a better movie if people accidentally stumbled upon it?
What do you mean?
Like you know, you I don't. I mean, I guess people don't really do this.
Like if from years from now and it was completely forgotten and somebody from the future wearing their fucking future spandex and was like had like an Apple Watch on their brain or something. They were like, whoa, what is this found footage movie? And they watch it, whoa, it is real.
Like if they set the remake in 1999?
No remake. There doesn't need to be a remake. Like it just
I mean, it was like a reboot.
It was more of a sequel because it's like the girl's brother tries
soft
to.
Reboots are hot right now.
Yeah, I also really love how they decided, oh hey, you know what we should do? We should make a found footage soft reboot when found footage shit is on its way out.
No, that's a great idea, guys. Good job.
Well, the reboot should have been a creepypasta. Like just throw it up on YouTube.
The found footage as a genre, like it's losing its popularity, but I don't think that it's completely useless as a medium. I think that there are still many really cool and interesting things that you can do with the genre. And I know it's gotten a bad rap because most filmmakers see it as an excuse to put less effort into their film.
Yeah.
But there are
'Cause
some found footage movies out there that are really innovative and interesting and put a lot more care and attention to detail in their films than a lot of non-found footage films do.
Trick Nine.
So
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that like it's a use. What I mean is like they like people like Hollywood has only used it for horror and stuff when it could be used for other things. Like there's Hardcore Henry, but that's irrelevant to
Doesn't
my
like found
point.
footage really, or maybe
Well,
I don't know
yeah,
if it counts.
it could be sort of classified as a
Okay, yeah.
found footage subgenre. But what I mean is Hollywood has exhausted found footage
Well,
to the point where no one gives a shit anymore.
They
So
never got into the whole the interest, like what Blair Witch started, but it took. I mean, Paranormal Activity, I guess, really started when you got like a ton of them.
Mhm.
But what Blair Witch was influenced by was Cannibal Holocaust. And if you've
Yeah.
seen Cannibal Holocaust, what's really cool about that movie is there's a whole backstory to. They found the footage, and they actually have a debate over the morals of releasing this footage. And Cannibal Holocaust is a really extreme movie, and I mean,
it's got a really good song.
yes, it
The
does.
theme
But
song is so good.
no, the theme song's great, but it's a. I think Cannibal Holocaust is really good from what it does with the found footage genre, but it does it way before any of the other kind of ripoffs do, and they never actually went into the morals and the ideas of finding that footage or anything. It's just like you're just watching someone found this and you're watching it. I don't know who gives a shit. And whereas Blair Witch Project did that also, but that was like a new thing. No one had done it before. And they at least had like a reason they were film students. All the other ones were like, it's security footage. I don't know. Who cares?
I genuinely love the first Blair Witch Project, and I
No, it
know
is a
a lot
good
of
movie.
a lot of people pass it off and categorize it as just some sort of found footage schlock, and a lot of people don't like it because it's like, oh, it doesn't hit the same cues and beats of a standard horror film. There's you don't see a lot of gore, you don't see like monsters or
Yeah.
whatever, blah blah blah, but it works very well as a film. Like it's a really great drama. You believe all of the performances, like great acting, and you really feel for this small group of people that you're with, and you experience the same confusion and um I don't know if I should say claustrophobia. There's a better term for it, like just
Well,
being
there
the
is
feeling of being
claustrophobia
lost, like you
because
know,
you're
like
just
you,
they're stuck in that loop, like they just can't get out of it. And there's
yeah, it's
there's a sense in that which the reboot tried to do, but the new one did so well where you're like, oh
you
my god, they're
experience
like
things
stuck.
through them.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that movie also, I don't think any of them obviously didn't think it was going to be what it was. And I think that phenomenon killed it so hard because I remember when it came out on VHS right for Halloween. Like it had a really small theatrical window. And when it came out, everyone would watch it at a Halloween party. And that's like a horrible movie to watch at a Halloween party. You really need to like have the lights out, be just like have a
I
few
watched it
people,
by
not have a lot
myself
of
when I was
yeah,
young.
that's the best way to see it. But everyone who saw it like at a party and hated it, I'm like, well, that was a terrible way to watch that movie. No wonder you didn't like it. Like,
If I have like a bunch of people over, like if more than like 5 people over, and there's alcohol, there's only like certain types of movies that I'll show. I won't
yeah,
I won't watch anything that I'll get upset if people aren't paying attention to.
Yeah.
It'll be
No,
it'll
that's
be
a
like
bad choice.
gore, fun, like dumb movies that people can laugh at, or like so bad that it's good, or like kind of things that it's like you can be drunk and everybody can be talking over it and it'll still be great.
I always pick like Mac and Me for those things.
yeah.
I still haven't seen that. I would like to.
Oh god.
Oh, you should
I've
see
seen
that.
I've seen a few scenes from it.
viewing party.
Oh god, yes.
Man, I'm still hung up on Death Note. I know we
Oh
kinda...
yeah, Death Note.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. We went on a
I
fan
was so
footage rant.
disappointed. I was so excited about Death Note, and then everyone just like
We're
moved on
talking
to
about
Guys,
Blair
keep,
Witch
keep
Project.
talking about it. I gotta
Well,
drop
it's
pickle
because
Rick.
we're talking about Adam Wingard, and I was just saying how he's never directed a good movie ever. And I mean, I would love to hear people try to justify the supposed intellectual genius of the 2 films of him that people really like after his inevitable 10 movies in a row where nobody likes them and they're complete shit. His next movie, gonna be complete shit. His movie after that, gonna be complete shit.
Is
To
he
people's standards more than just me.
Is he the next
No.
Spielberg?
Well, I think they wanted him to be like this genre guy because Your Next was very much like Your Next was very genre, and I guess The Guest was trying to be like a kind of like My Bodyguard mixed with the Terminator type of thing. And like that's what they wanted like him to be, like a strict genre filmmaker. But the problem is I think he when he's had these intellectual properties, he's not using any genre in that. He's trying to tackle them like I haven't seen any Death Note, so I can't really of the anime. But when I was watching the movie, it just felt like too many things going on at once. Like you shouldn't have the the detective, and the
He
girlfriend.
really focused
thing.
on the gore.
Yeah, well,
like,
that was
no
the other thing.
reason.
Was like it started as like a Final Destination ripoff, and then it stops doing
Which
that.
is it's just so stupid.
Like,
There's no
why-
reason for it.
I mean, I sort of get like he can.
It's clearly
kill-
what he cares about is the gore.
Yeah,
which
because
is
that
even the
That's
point
it.
of the original anime. That's not that wasn't
Exactly. There was never the anime didn't go like, ooh, how are they gonna die? Like little death sequence and then like head explode like extravaganza.
Yeah,
That
all,
never
all that happened
and
was
that
a heart
didn't happen
attack.
for yeah, and I mean like, okay, yeah, if you want to do something different, that's fine. But at least acknowledge that your choices are not being made for the better. You know, you decided that you like this type of thing better, but it's like, okay, well, what did you get out of the original?
Well, I
Is
think
all I have to
think
ask.
you're-
Is like, what did you experience?
You're asking this as if like this is aimed at the original source, like people that love the anime. If you were going to try and grab random person that will go to a movie theater, which keep in mind that's a small niche part of the Death Note's original audience, how do you make deaths cool for a? Not that Death Note should be an action movie,
But that's
remotely.
it's not the point. Is the problem is like how can you if you're going to make a movie where all you give a crap about is like, oh man, this death's so cool, then why are you adapting Death Note when clearly those are conflicting ideas? Like, why are you even adapting the source material? If you want to make something completely different, make your different movie.
I think
You know?
that
Like, why even take the intellectual property?
I think the thing is that Hollywood just has a gross misunderstanding of audience appeal because I think in their Hollywood heads they're like, well, if we take this thing and we make it and we put this thing in it, it'll be popular. I think they just have a gross misunderstanding of how things work, which we all obviously know. But they think that, oh, if we take this anime property, we'll appeal to a niche market, and then if we make it all gory and stuff, we'll appeal to a horror market too. It's great. It's a great idea.
I think that's giving him too much credit.
I don't really think they really think out making anime adaptations because it really hasn't worked financially ever. Like what I can't even think of one that's worked at all.
Edge of Tomorrow is probably the best example, but that's still
Manga.
yeah.
That's manga, and that also like, I mean, sorta, I guess, but that is.
Well, it's a very
Well,
loose
that-
adaptation.
That also had Tom Cruise in it, and a major. Anyway, but
The Mummy.
Yeah.
Jim.
Well, anyway, but the Mummy that made money overseas. I haven't seen the Mummy. I'm not going
I
to justify
saw that
it,
was shit.
But
It was funny.
Yeah.
He becomes a
Like,
superhero at the end.
But who is seeing like Ghost in the Shell and Death Note like and is excited about them, and like I don't really think they're thinking out these movies in a way that's like they're not like
So-
superhero movies. There's not a built up demand for like I can't wait to see Death Note on the big screen. Like nobody really gives a shit. So
I think
People
the thing,
were excited for it.
I was still am.
Yeah, there was a ton of people excited for the Death Note remake.
The thing is, like, Death Note went through a lot of production stuff because this originally was a theatrical film, and then it kept getting passed down and passed down and passed down until eventually Netflix bought it. So I don't know how much this is like, all right, this is what we already have, and then someone's trying to make the best out of it, what it is. And going back to what you're saying about if you were going to do a Death Note movie that involves a lot of the action-y parts, why not adapt the part with the TV station, which has quite a bit of action.
Here's my theory. Adam Wingard made 0 decisions based on how he thought American audiences would perceive them and made every decision based on the movie he wanted to make. He made the exact movie he wanted to make because he makes dumb movies for stupid, dumb babies. He's just like, I like gore. And that's it. He doesn't like he's not the type of person who could even watch Death Note and get anything out of it beyond, ooh, look it, people died. Goo goo gaga.
Okay.
I know it's a very exaggerated
Yeah.
caricature. I hate this man so much.
How about this?
I hate him even more after having watched all of his films last night in order to try and give him a second chance because people were insisting that I was misinterpreting him.
How about this idea? Like, I'm still up for the idea. Like, could Death Note work as an anthology series, like a TV show where each episode a different person gets the Death Note? Could that work?
Oh, that'd be fun. People would be pissed off at regardless because it's not the source material.
A
but,
Death
like,
Note film could work.
Mm-hmm.
A Death Note film could very well work. I wholeheartedly believe that. You just need to give it to somebody who can actually faithfully adapt the original and be like, okay, this is what's important about it. You know, capture the tone. You know what I really loved about the original Death Note is like even in one of the first scenes, you get that like the shot that goes into the demon world or whatever it was. What do they call them? Shinigami
Shinigamis,
lair or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So like the shot that goes into their world and it's like through this big tunnel and the camera's shaking and you get this like this choir, this chorus of these singers that are going like sort of thing. Like that tone was never experienced at all in the film. Like all we got was Adam Wingard's typical like, hey, let's do some 80s synth and people will think it's an homage, except it's not going to work this time. He just really loves this 80s synth vibe. He's going to put his own stupid playlist in the movie and not give a crap about what the tone of the film should be.
Yeah, one thing that really bothers me is people say, "Oh, anime can't be adapted into live action. Stop doing it." And I'm like, no, it can be. It's just that Hollywood keeps picking the wrong people.
Well, it's similar what happened to comic book movies before, Sam Raimi and so forth. Is most of them were bad because you pick people who had no respect for the what they were adapting, and they treat it like comic books are dumb. I'll direct it like it's a dumb thing, and you got like Batman and Robin and shit like that. But like I think anime, like other than like the Speed Racer movie, no one has ever really taking it that seriously what they're adapting. So you're getting these like subpar directors, who look down upon what they're adapting things, which just doesn't work. Like it's like a stupid way to come about a source material.
You know what would have been amazing? Since Death Note's original material is such like dialogue heavy storytelling anyways, because most of Death Note, the anime, is them standing around talking about their future plans. I think it'd be great if Kevin Smith, if we're gonna do like a shitty remake anyways, just go all the way. Kevin Smith doing all the dialogue.
Kevin Smith needs to go home.
That's where his recording booth is. That's where he makes his podcast. So we'd be encouraging him if he does go home.
Stay out of the podcast. Stay out of the cinema.
He'll never go home. He's gonna be around forever.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
What has Kevin Smith done again? I'm sorry, I keep.
Clerks, Mallrats, Dogma, Jane Silent
Dogma,
Bob.
Yeah.
Tusk, Yoga Hosers.
Oh. Oh.
He just like why he's become a horror movie director. I don't really.
Well, like I'm starting to question.
I didn't even like Red State. I know some people.
Oh,
like
Red
that.
State was fucking awful.
No,
that was the movie I realized that Kevin Smith wasn't a good storyteller.
I don't know why that was hyped up. People were like, "Wow, what a
'cause
great film!" I don't understand.
I think it was more a reaction to him doing that thing at Sundance, which was a bullshit thing that he did, where he screened it and he said, afterwards, we'll decide who's going to distribute it. And he gets on the mic and goes, I don't want anyone to distribute it. I hate all you guys. You guys all suck. Red State.
He
I'm
did
going to
that?
distribute it myself, just the way I'm saying it too.
Whoa.
And you guys are all stupid booger faces. And he walked out and they're like, what? He did do that. I mean,
I don't know about that. He was like, I saw something else where he was like, I'm going to distribute this movie myself, like go cross country, have a tour to see my movie.
He did, but he basically hyped up. He like kind of hijacked all these people because they're like, who's going to distribute this movie? And then like after the screening, he's like, oh, no one, I'm going to do it. And they're like, what the fuck? Why were there's other shit we had to do today, man. Like, what the fuck? Like he like pissed off half the industry by like holding them captive because they wanted to buy this movie, and then he ended it by saying like "fuck you guys," and it like obviously didn't go over that well.
Adam
That was a
Wingard
shitty
has been
movie.
on Twitter saying that people that don't like his films are just trolls.
Yeah,
Like the new
he-
Death Note movie specifically. And then when people when people are like, "Really? Why are you saying that?" He made another tweet saying, "Haha, look at all these trolls that are getting offended by me calling them out." Like, okay.
Like
His
his
everyone's
method of defense is the
Okay.
Chris Chan method.
he is not handling the reaction to Death Note.
Of course, and it just shows how little self-awareness he has.
No,
you know,
he-
like he
like-
can't even be the person that's like, "Oh yeah, so studio influence made me do this, blah blah blah." And I know you can't say that publicly, but it's abundantly clear
Yeah.
that he thought he was making like a great adaptation. Come on. And people call his other films genre deconstructions. That's bull.
Oh, see that I don't agree with
It's
that. I know people
bull. And I watched
people
them
have
last
said
night
that
just
they're not.
to try and understand. It's like there's a couple things that are different in your next than a typical horror movie, you know? Like
Yeah.
there's a little bit of like, wow, they did this slightly different. But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's like some sort of commentary on the genre.
Yeah.
It's not Funny Games, it's not Cabin in the Woods, it's not Scream, it's not Tucker and Dale versus Evil. You
Yeah.
know, just because you do a couple things different in your slasher dumb horror movie, all of a sudden people are like, wow, this looks like it's poorly acted and cheesy enough that it's being a parody and it's being a commentary and it's doing it ironically. No, it's just cheesy and dumb and poorly acted. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm so frustrated with it.
First off, I really love Tucker and Dale versus Evil, but also
It's awesome. I love that movie.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
People, if you're listening to this, just look up. Well, just watch the movie Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and don't look up any trailers or anything. But
I no joke went into it blind, not knowing what I was going to get, and that made it so much better.
Yeah.
Me too.
That's fun.
Me too. I had no idea.
related, I just hate when movies say, you know, this is just like, you know how in the movies they do blank blank. I hate when they point that out in movies and stuff.
What?
You know, like there's a scene in a movie like Scream. They do this all the time, but there's other movies that try to do it too, where
Yeah.
they
Oh,
say
yeah.
like, "Hey, this is."
Well, I think
Oh, go on.
yeah. I don't know. The other thing with Death Note is it's clearly influenced by shitty '90s movies that like were never very good. Like I
Oh,
noticed.
You mentioned the Bully earlier, and the Bully is like literally every early '90s Bully character in any kids film.
Yeah.
It's an Adam Wingard movie. He threw in random dumb stupid bullies in The Guest too. That's just the movie he wants to make.
Please tell me like the bully.
And now people are realizing that the movie he wants to make is a shitty movie. Like,
Please tell me like the bully has like one of those '90s sweater T-shirts, and he has like blonde
No, but
spiked hair.
he's a football player. He's a football.
Oh no
player.
no okay, he has a Letterman jacket. Like, does he say like, "Hey L, does the L stand for loser?" And the bully has like
No.
a best friend who's like, "Good one."
no, they're literally just like right outside the school at any given moment in time, and you have to imagine that there's probably like a queue of people that are waiting to get bullied because that's all the only place they stand.
Yeah.
Lights like inside his classroom. Later, he looks out the window. The bullies are like literally in the exact same spot they were before.
Well,
He's like, man, I'm 17 years old. Do you know that if you beat me up, that will be child abuse? That's literally what he said.
yeah, I remember.
Somebody
that.
wrote that. Adam Wingard directed that and thought, this is good.
But I don't
This
get.
works. How can you do that?
What I
will
never
say-
got about that movie is like they don't develop. Like, wouldn't you want to develop that character before he gets the Death Note? So there's like I have some attachment to him as an audience.
It's an Adam Wingard film.
it's
He
like we
doesn't
just-
want to direct. He doesn't want to develop characters.
but
He has
like-
zero
like
interest.
That's the problem. That's one of the biggest problems with Death Note is like there's no. I am not interested in Light Turner, who sounds like the most American name, like generic American name you can think of.
Now we're gonna go and show those douchebags they can't mess with us, or my name isn't Canada. Washington, Sawyer, Finn, Bush, Cheney, Pamela, Anderson, Lee.
True dat, yo. True dat, y'all indeed, inevitable black gang member.
People are surprised at this point about Adam Wingard. Like right before Blair Witch, people were saying he's the most innovative and influential and creative horror director today. I can't wait to see what he comes up with next. And now all of a sudden people are acting surprised, you know? Like, oh, how come they didn't develop the character, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, this is in line with every movie he's ever made. He didn't really develop any of the characters in The Guest as much as people loved that movie. He just had one dude that gave a constant smirk and was like, I'm the cool guy. Look at how cool I am. Look, I can drink really spicy liquor. Isn't that so cool? And then everybody who's like a super cool guy fetishist was like, oh yeah, I love watching this character. I don't know. I hate him so much.
It's very clear.
It's borderline irrational at this point.
You can't say a goddamn word about Death Note without you going on a rant about his entire filmography.
I'm infuriated by him. Not just like on my own, but the fact that people are constantly telling me that I'm misinterpreting those two films. That are constantly telling me that I should like them. It's one thing if you're going to say, hey, this is what I thought about the movie. It's another thing if you're going to say, hey, this is what you should think about the movie.
Have you ever?
And when I went on Twitter and I was talking about how much I hated those movies, I was talking about what I thought of the movie, not like, hey, you should all hate these movies. Anyway.
Yeah. Have you ever just like said something in a video and like you wish you could edit it because there's so many comments or misinterpretation from the video?
Well, I find myself doing that thing often where I'll try to anticipate counter arguments and diffuse them before they even happen. So I try to think of what someone who would misinterpret me might say about something, or how someone might be able to misinterpret something. So I'm like, you might be thinking this, but blah 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 blah. So that's usually how I try to do it.
Yeah, that's what I worry
otherwise about. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just go in the comments section and say something, but
one of my favorite misinterpretations, it was from a recent video, but it was someone who didn't even watch the video. Like, it was just someone who said, here we go, another Teen Titans Go bitch fest, because there's a ton of Teen Titans Go rants on YouTube. And then, like, I commented, replying them saying, watch the video before you comment. And then apparently he did, because he deleted his own comment. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, hey, you come back here and apologize to me and bow to me, you asshole. Death Note. Anything else about Death Note?
It's awful. It's awful. And I cannot wait for Adam Wingard to make crappy film after crappy film until nobody loves him. And I can say, I was hating him before it was cool.
I'm going to be honest. I was really fucking stoked to talk about Death Note and actually talk about Death Note. But like I said, you keep just attacking the same guy over and over again. You're almost repeating yourself. And
I'm sorry.
I was just super stoked to like actually pick out points that happened in the movie.
You can talk about Death Note.
No, I'm not even having fun with
Talk about Death Note, Izzy. Do it. Do it.
I'm not preventing you from talking.
I heard
kind of were.
I heard Robin Williams had a death nut.
What?
A death nut?
What?
Didn't he die jacking it?
No, that you're confusing that with the old dude from Kill Bill.
Okay,
Yeah,
David Carradine.
he did. That is how he died.
I thought that's how Robin Williams died. Never mind.
No, he hung himself because he was getting Parkinson's.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a lot less fun than jerking off.
Yeah. This joke went off the rails.
Oh.
Got him. I don't like how they ruined the character design of Ryuk.
I agree with that.
Oh, why do they keep casting William Dafoe and putting makeup on his face or a stupid Power Ranger suit on him?
Well, the problem is that like Ryuk is very skinny and very like he's an abstraction of human body. And like this one, it's very clearly like they first started out with someone in a meat suit and then like, CGI elements onto it. And it's really awkward to see like giant fist versus like, I guess he has big hands in the original, but like then he has actually human sized like arms versus
They
like
gave
really
him
skinny.
a really weird face.
That's true.
But he does look like William Dafoe already in the anime. So like this could have worked.
I know. And then in all the marketing, they just showed the silhouette as far as I knew.
So,
Yeah,
And it's just like,
It's like-
okay,
it's
well,
like
this wasn't
Lady.
about. Well, yeah, it's like, okay, well, now I guess this wasn't about being mysterious and foreboding. This was about trying to hide the fact that he looks like shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
However, I really enjoyed Ryuk being an entire dick in this movie versus like being passive aggressive. Because like he's very much more like upfront about things. Because like in the original, it's Light finds the book, experiments with it, and then runs into Ryuk. Versus this one, Ryuk's really like being a puppeteer.
Well, I feel like in the original anime there was like a sense of Ryuk kind of ironically being more humanized as the series goes on, and Light being more, less humanized and being more of a monster as the series goes on. And you have this kind of interesting juxtaposition of Ryuk being like, oh wow, this human guy is really is crazy. But in this new adaptation, it's just like Light didn't even kill somebody who wasn't a bad guy. Like there was no sort of moral ambiguity, and they went out of their way to handpick him to be like this perfect goody two shoes moral character, but in the wrong ways. Like with Light, it was like that was his whole outward persona in the original anime was like, oh, everybody thinks he's this perfect straight A student who would never do anything wrong. They just ditched that, and instead of giving him moral ambiguity of starting to kill people who weren't even like quote unquote bad guys, they were like, yeah, let's just have him only kill people who were criminals and only kill people that were trying to kill him or something. It was just like, Ryuk could have been taken out of this new movie and literally nothing would have changed. Like he didn't really add anything to the film. Like
except for that
you
one
could have.
They thought Ryuk killed all the FBI agents. Because
God, that was so dumb.
A big part of the big part of conflict is less about L and Light and more about Light and Mia or Misa, because like it's very much Misa has a bunch of ideas of what they should be doing, and Light's pretty much a pussy and won't do anything. So Mia starts like it becomes a chess game between them two as she's trying to get the book and become the person who can kill versus Light. And then L feels more like a subplot.
What I didn't get about, first off, if you got a Death Note book, I would at least read the rules. I didn't understand that. Why didn't he just read them all? But also, like, he made it sound like only he could write in it. So, like, any jerk can just pick it up and be like, write something and then kill him, right?
Yeah, that's how it was in the.
I mean, that felt a little random to me. I wasn't like a huge.
They added that stupid burn the page rule though, just for the sake of like plot convenience.
Cheap drama. Cheap suspense.
Start with the ending first and write your way backwards logic.
Because in the original, it was anyone that touches the book is able to see the death gods, the Shinigamis. In this one, it's whoever owns it exclusively. The not holding the book for 7 days, I feel like, is a movie exclusive rule. I think in the original, it was you had to give up the book, like verbally, like give up ownership, and then you forget anything that happened during your time being the Death Note user. The page, for those who hadn't seen it, basically, if you're a Death Note owner and you write someone's name down before they die, if you burn the page, it cancels it out, but you can only do that once. I don't know that it wasn't clear if it was once per book or once per user.
I know it's whatever it had to be to have their stupid conclusion.
Okay, you can't tell me that was not enjoyable just for the fact that like their facial expressions when they realized they wrote each other's names in the book.
Oh, so it's like Gift of the Magi?
Amy, this is for you. A set of combs for your beautiful hair.
Oh, that's so sweet. But I sold my hair to a wig maker so I could buy a set of combs for Hermes.
Oh, the irony! I sold my hair so I could buy this third set of combs for Zoidbug.
Thank you. These will come in handy for my new hair. Finally, I look as pretty as I feel.
I wrote in a book that like Mia Stanton hands him the Death Note in the attempt to like you can control someone for 2 days, which is not a rule in the original book. You can control people's actions pretty much infinitely until they die. Versus the book, it's like it's 2 days exclusive for plot convenience. But yeah, it's a part where it's like you wrote my name in the book. You wrote my name in the book. Like there's this great like facial expression. Like again, his facial expressions are the Tom and Jerry movie. They're amazing.
I like the scene at the end of the credits where she wrote that he was in the Naked Brothers band, and I was like, that's fucking deep.
The entire film, Light, the actor playing Light, just felt like he should have been in a comedy film instead.
Why was is he have enough of a following? Like, there's so many things about this movie that I was like, this is the problem with having Netflix, is that like none of these people should have been allowed to do this. And like because of Netflix and like a studio who clearly would have been like, wait, so you want this kid who's not really that famous to lead this movie that's going to cost a lot of money?
I don't think it's a Netflix exclusive problem, though.
That no one wants. But it's like, no, it's like a streaming, I guess it's a streaming problem where like we'll never know the numbers on this movie. I'm sure it got watched a lot. More people probably saw this on Netflix than would have ever seen it had it gone to theaters because it was just there. And it's like,
yeah, because it's like I already own this service and I want to see how bad it is.
Yeah, I was like, did they? I don't think Netflix made this because they were like, well, people will hate it and that'll work out for us. I just think they were like, this is like the problem people had with Okja, is that like no studio would have ever made this, so this is why it's Netflix exclusive, and that's like a problem with that service. Is like,
well, I like Okja though.
They make no, I like Okja also,
movie.
but it's just like they do have a thing where it's like they make some stuff that I'm like, I'm so glad they made this, and then they make other stuff where I'm like, maybe you should have stopped at a certain.
They can't be all hits, you know.
Yeah, but this was like a pretty big misfire. You know?
Yeah.
It's actually one of the bigger ones because with Netflix, no one ever talks about their misses, and they release original content all the fucking time.
Oh yeah, every week. I mean, that $20 billion in debt didn't come from nowhere.
Right, and so like we only ever really get press talk or remember the big hits, but like yeah, like I said, they're probably like their success rate is probably 20%, but their brand not like people's knowledge of it's kind of like Pixar, where everyone just thinks every movie's good.
Well,